1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ Podcast. We are on Segment 1, Episode 40 of Segment 1. Wait, no, that's wrong.
What? Episode 40 of Segment 1, did you just say?
Yes, I did. I said Episode 40
Oh my
of
god, it's been so long since I saw daylight.
Oh my god. So, I mean, technically it's true. This is the 40th Segment 1.
No, it's not.
It is. It's the 40th Segment 1.
No.
Oh god, you're right. It's the 37th. Because we did Segment 2 and Segment 3 as a separate episode for the podcast 1, 2, and 3.
Right, yeah.
Anyway. This is just a fucking disaster right off the bat. Anyway, welcome back. Topics. We have, I have a topic right off the bat. Which,
Yep.
It was a conversation I was having with somebody, around where I live. So I was out at a restaurant earlier this week. And I was just having a conversation with one of the wait staff there. And it was a slow day, so we were chatting about books and movies, and me, another patron there, and the waitress, the three of us we were trying to think of, is there ever a situation where you have a starts off as a book, becomes a movie, and the movie ends up being better than the book? And we were struggling to think, and not necessarily a movie, it could be a TV show too. A few of the obvious ones that jump to mind, Game of Thrones. I absolutely love the books, but I feel especially as the series went on, they deviated further and further from them, and the series got worse and worse, and it kind of is reflected in the ratings.
Also, because it's a lot easier to watch TV than it is to read a book.
It is, but you do.
At least these days. It
is, but yeah, and you tend to have shallower stories. I think that's why it tends to be easier. Anyway, I was trying to think of that, and I couldn't really. And things that I could do direct comparisons with, because, in my opinion, Harry Potter, the movies were better than the books. That's kind of controversial, but that's because I saw the movies first, and then went back and tried to read the books, but the books were very much oriented towards children, and at the time I was 18 when I tried to read the books, and it just didn't... Didn't
you say you preferred the Hobbit movie over the Hobbit books?
I did say that. Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
That's an example.
I mean, I don't agree with that, but I'm just saying it's what you said.
The first Hobbit, I feel like if they had just condensed it down a little bit more, it would have been better.
Right.
But, I listened to the entire Hobbit book on audiobook on, one business trip, and it didn't even last me the whole flight, but I got through the whole thing, and it was just okay. But I don't remember anything about the book. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing stuck with me, but I remember bits from the movie.
Ooh. I just remembered a movie we need to watch. I was thinking, I was like, well, maybe if we're considering, comic strips as well?
That's legit.
Thinking, there was that horrible Judge Dredd film, which is
the one with
as good as comics, apparently.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, but they did another Judge Dredd film after that one that's supposed to be kind of...
Which is what I want you to watch.
Okay.
It's got the really cool guy who... I don't remember his name. He was in Riddick. He was the Varco dude.
Oh, okay, yep.
With the black hair. He's super serious. He's a really good Judge Dredd.
Okay.
And so that's probably one thing. But I was thinking... I've never read the original comics, so I don't know how good the Judge Dredd comics were.
Maybe
but that was a really good film.
Maybe that's what it comes down to. It's whichever one you read or watched
Go to first.
Yeah, exactly. If you saw the movie... Maybe that's what I was thinking with the Harry Potter thing. I saw the movies first. I mean, the same is true, I think, for Lord of the Rings, but I haven't gone all the way through the books. I'm still... They're just so long.
I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and again, it's another thing that I keep saying I want to watch, but it is 3 movies, and I'm not going to subject you guys to that long. Maybe when I'm over Ease, I'm going to make her watch it over several weeks, but...
Early on in the lockdown, I have the extended cuts for the movies on Blu-ray, and I watched
be a pitfall.
They're 3 hours long each.
Yeah.
Or more.
It's like I think when I got you to watch the Blues Brothers, I think it was, and I think YouTube automatically takes the extended cut version of the films.
Yeah, I remember.
And yeah, it did drag a bit.
Because at the end, it was just like, okay, we've seen, like, 13 or 14 car crashes now. Like, when is this, can we wrap it up a little bit? That chase scene did go on for quite a while.
Mm. But yeah, okay, cool.
Well, it's getting to me. I'm trying to think of an example where I've done both, and I've liked both. Or maybe I've done the reverse. Like, I've seen the movie first and then read the book and ended up liking the book more. Or seen the book, read the book first and watched the movie and liked the movie more.
What about, because I'm pretty sure you've seen both. And this is very much edging it out on a different kind of category, but, like, Naruto?
I have not read the manga. I did watch the anime back in high school.
Note.
Definitely liked the anime more.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So, if we're talking about the live actions, then obviously not.
Oh, yeah, not the live. No, hell no.
But I love the books. And there weren't... It's not like one of these animes that goes on forever. I like that there was eventually a conclusion, even though I didn't like the conclusion that there was.
So,
at least they got there.
That is something, maybe I should caveat that. In my mind, the moment, spoiler alert for people who haven't seen it, the moment L dies, no. That's where the anime ends.
Really?
I do,
I see, okay,
the final third of the series doesn't exist for me.
Yeah.
Because it's it goes so far off the rails and it's so shitty.
I don't know, I kind of like all the... Because that's before anyone realizes everything. There's moments where it's like the betrayal between the father and son.
Yeah,
that was really... Like,
those were good. The problem I had with it is it got to, like, parody levels. Like, you had first you had two weak ass imitations of L that show up, right?
Yeah, Mellow and
Jello.
I don't know.
Mellow and Jello. Let's call them that.
Yeah.
the guy that eats chocolate bars and the guy that stacks sticks. Those two.
I think it was a girl.
No, they were both guys.
Mellow, the slightly older sister.
I thought they were both guys
in the gang.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's been a long time since I've watched through that part of the series because I watched
Not this argument again. It's a young boy or an older woman.
to add some context, this has been an ongoing debate. Whenever we are playing the video game Valorant, we'll occasionally have other people everyone has a mic in the game. We'll have people talk, and they'll, depending on who, like, just... It changes from game to game, but some of us will go like, "Oh no, that's clearly a little kid." Another one's like, "No, that's a girl," and we never agree. It doesn't. We're always one way or the other, but we never agree.
I don't know. So generally, Scott's always on one side extreme. You're always extreme on the other side. I tend to float between. But oh my god. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Back to the story. Jello.
Yeah. So. Like, my problem with the series was that they go, like, completely off the things they do to catch him are so cartoonishly stupid. Like, they throw a bunch of money out of a helicopter, or they, I don't know, do all this. It's just, in the first part of the series, the kind of battle of wits dynamic between Light and L, like, it was genuinely tense, and you could see it actually happening. It was all grounded in reality. But it becomes like Bond villain-esque in that last part of the series, and I just didn't like it at all. The conclusion, I agree. That was a really tense and crazy scene. It's how they got to that conclusion, which was just
I hated
dumb.
the end. I hated the end with a burning passion.
Yeah.
I thought it was really dumb, and that would never have happened. He basically acted, for 90% of the story, up until that point, he acted with a calm, clear mind.
And then he goes berserk in the end.
Yeah, at the end, he's just like, whips out the diary in front of everyone and starts writing names like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when he killed Elle, he was like holding Elle in his arms, like fake crying over him. In the last second of life, he gets that wicked fucking grin and is like, I've won now.
Yeah. Yeah,
And Elle's
exactly.
like, oh shit!
And it's
before
all
she
just
tries.
it's all subtle and subdued and just
It is. It's perfectly orchestrated. But the ending
Yeah.
to it, and this is one of the very few stories where I want the bad guy to win because he's such a good bad guy.
Well, we've talked about this a few times in the podcast. I think it's just so rare that you get a good villain. Like, and sometimes you don't always need to have a happy ending. It doesn't always have to be like this saccharine butterflies at the end of the movie. Sometimes you want to have a tragedy. Sometimes you want to have a movie where, like, a villain, even if you hate that villain, it's satisfying to watch, like, him triumph or whatever. But this is making me think of another topic that I wanna discuss, because we've kind of soft transitioned into it already. Movies,
the voices thing.
No. Movies, TV shows, and books that basically are great, and then they fuck up the ending.
Yeah, we've talked about this quite a bit because I remember I've gone over the Darren Shan ending multiple times. That's the one that will always stick in my mind as the worst ending to a good series.
Yeah, I've got one in mind that seriously sticks out for me. So there's a movie called Law Abiding Citizen.
I heard of it.
It's pretty good. So it's the premise of the movie is sorry, this thing turned on by itself. The premise of the movie is Sean Bean, I think, the guy who was in 300. Is that him?
I've not seen 300.
Oh, really? Great movie. Terribly historically inaccurate, but great movie.
Yeah, I actually watched a review for it not too long ago, and they were like, "Here's all the flaws in it."
Yeah,
and I'm kind of like, oh.
It's, think about if you took like Greek history and instead of like normal people, you inserted superheroes.
The Spartan kick one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is Sparta. Yeah. Anyway, he was in a movie called Law Abiding Citizen, and the premise is this guy who he's at home with his wife and his daughter, and these two robbers break in, and they stab him and tie him up, and then they proceed to rob the house, and they kill his wife and kid. And he lives, and going through the prosecution process, the guy who was kind of a patsy, the guy who was just the accomplice, but didn't actually kill anyone, he gets death row, and because the other guy, the guy that did kill people, had a good lawyer, he cuts a deal with the prosecution, and he only gets like 10 years in jail or something like that.
This sounds a lot like that book that John Grisham, the one with the ex-Vietnam veteran. I know I've spoken with your mother about this before.
A Time to Die or something like that, or A Time to Kill, or
quite possibly. It was several years ago.
It's a good book, and the movie version of it has Sam Jackson in it.
Yeah, and because he refuses to do something out of honor, he basically ends up getting executed by the state. Oh,
maybe no. I'm thinking of a different movie. I'm thinking of the movie.
I think it was a movie one. It was one of the few ones that made it into a movie.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of a different one.
Right.
Because that's not the plot of that one.
Okay.
But yeah, so fast forward 10 years, and the guy who was on death row, he's getting executed by lethal injection, and rather than the calm, peaceful process where they have the canisters, one puts him to sleep, and then one kills him, one stops his heart, whatever. They usually inject 3 chemicals, and that's how it's meant to be more humane. I personally still find it disgusting. I'd rather die by firing squad. Anyway, so something goes wrong, and he dies in just a brutal and painful way, because somebody swapped out the chemicals. And the other guy, who's out now and is basically a bum, he's in some dilapidated apartment taking drugs, he ends up getting brutally murdered as well. And it's heavily implied that it is that guy, the guy whose family these two killed.
Right.
And so that's just the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Jeez.
The rest of the movie is they've arrested this guy, and they're pretty sure he's the one that did it, but they can't find any sort of proof, and they're just holding him for trial. And he starts basically enacting this very elaborate revenge against the prosecutor's office, who did like basically cut a deal with these horrible people. And so like, you know, the judge that agreed to it, she ends up getting killed. The guy who was defending the guy that killed his wife and daughter, he ends up, you know, suffocating in a bin out in a field. Like all of this, and no one knows how he's doing it. He's got this big elaborate plan. Like him being arrested was just part of the plan. And it turns out that he's like this big. They find out that, you know, his job, the guy whose wife and daughter died, was he was like a military engineer. And so he designed like weapons and, you know, stuff for the CIA, ways to do like clandestine assassinations and stuff like that. And so my problem is, and it's so good right up until the ending, because at the end, like they've made him out to be this genius, and the movie ends with a fucking Deus Ex Machina where some nobody who has not been in the movie, like the main guy who's supposed to be the protagonist, he gets an email from somebody who isn't even in the movie that just tells him, basically, this is everything you need to know .exe. Just like, here's his whole plan. And then simultaneously him, the guy who's been doing all this, he makes the most stupid decision possible. And it's just like, oh, the ending drives me nuts. Like, they've made him out to be such this really powerful antagonist where you can kind of sympathize with him, and it's like, oh, he's a genius. You don't know what kind of crazy, fucked up thing he's going to do next. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end, he, like, just magically kills himself. Because the prosecutor somehow stole the bomb he was going to use to blow something up and slipped it into his cell, and the guy, you know, blows himself up. It's such a stupid ending.
I know we talked about this last time, but me and Lucy have been watching Digimon. In the Dark Masters arc, you know how there's Machine Dramon? Right?
Yeah.
He's like the ultimate evil Digimon. He's like, nothing is stronger than a Machine Dramon, right?
Yeah, him, big dude with cannons on his back, right?
Yeah, like metal dragon with cannons. He's literally, they say in the thing, he's the ultimate, like, war machine. There's nothing that can beat him. They take about twice as long to kill a Pinocchio boy in a forest than they do to kill the ultimate fucking mega Machine Dramon. And it's freaking ridiculous. Like, so Pinocchio-mon or whatever, something like that.
Petamon? He's
like a little kid, right?
No, but I think he has a name like that, though. It's like Pietomon or something like that.
It's Pinocchio, I think.
Really? Oh, okay.
It's kind of on the nose, yeah. Pun definitely not intended, but you know what? And yeah, he's got like a house in a forest, and they're just wandering around for episodes and episodes and episodes. He never really engages them, he just gets other people to fight. And when they finally fight him, they basically just crush him. But that takes about 10 episodes. Then they go to this big city where there's like Tankmons, there's freaking Megadramon, and the even more powerful version of Megadramon or whatever the fuck he's called, flying around the sky. It literally nukes an entire city. And they never end up fighting them. They end up fighting those guys' boss, who's even more powerful, and they kill him in a single scene. Like, literally a bunch of Numamons jump on top of him. He kills like 100 of them in a single shot.
Well, this goes back to what you were saying last week, though. Like, it's just the power dynamics, the power levels in that are just a mess.
Yeah, well, and I think Alicia absolutely had it right afterwards, because we were talking about it. And she was like, oh, I guess they did that because they were running out of episodes. I'm on to the final Dark Master now, they've just started fighting him, and there are 4 episodes till the end of the season. So I think they're going to do the same with him. And God,
he's the
I don't know.
He's the clown dude with the knives, right?
Yeah, I can't really remember his name. He looks kind of stupid. Devimon was a really fucking cool enemy.
Yeah.
Etamon was meh, because he's just a bit gross in general.
So this is something, to bring it to like a more general topic, this is something that I think it's important when you're talking about like fantasy universes or like even anything like a superhero kind of universe. Like what I was talking about earlier, for the people that don't know, when I'm talking about like a power level dynamic in those kinds of shows, you need to have, like, if you have superhumans in a world, and you need to have some way of establishing the scale of how powerful they are in relation to like a normal person. And it doesn't have to be as on the nose as it was in Dragon Ball Z at the beginning, where it was like, it's 100, it's 9,000. It's so, but it can be just as simple as, okay, I know that this guy can, like, you know, lift a car, but this guy can kick that guy's ass, so this guy is, you know, more powerful than him. In some shows, they just make an absolute mess of it. Digimon being a very good example, because, like you were saying, they establish these guys as an unstoppable badass, and then he dies in, like, 2 hits.
And it's not just movies either. The Cyber Sleuth game I've been playing recently.
Oh, yeah.
In the tutorial, they have you on a team with, again, Machine Dramon on your team against one enemy, and you have I had a Palmon, right? My Palmon was doing as much damage as Machine Dramon. Like, considered basically above Ultimate Digimon.
Yeah.
And a rookie. That's like 4 stages apart.
They do. Yeah, video games get this wrong too. It's just, it's not good.
It's ridiculous. I mean, if it was a little bit closer, I could understand it. If it was a champion and an ultimate, then they would be still very different, but kind of there.
Yeah,
you could get away with it for a tutorial.
Pair you with something a little bit more. Part of me thinks it's to get people in quick and go like, "Look, this is a cool guy that you might get if you keep playing this game and don't sell it."
That's true. And it is a good game. I'm enjoying it.
Well, I like I said, I had it for the PS4. I beat the whole thing. The game we're talking about, by the way, is it's a Digimon video game, Digimon Cyber Sleuth.
Yeah, I'm on a very real Digimon kick at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 70% off on Steam, so if you want to get it, I don't know if it still is, but yeah.
I think when I got it, it was pretty cheap even back then. The PlayStation version of it, I picked it up for like $20 or $30.
Although, as we have discussed, unlike much of the Digimon franchise, this one has rather adult themes.
Yeah.
So, you've been warned.
But the weird kind of Japan adult themes, like... Oh.
Yeah.
There's
not much murder, I don't think. I
think somebody gets murdered in the beginning, don't they?
There's no, like, actual... There's never any blood.
Yeah, it's all, like, virtual murder.
Yeah, people just dissolve.
Yeah.
So it's not really... And it's cartoony anyway. So.
Oh. Alright, well, we've hammered that quite a bit. Did you have something else that you wanted to talk about in this segment? I thought you said you had a topic earlier, but...
I mean, so I was going to talk about Cyber Sleuth.
Oh.
But,
we've kind of already covered that. Well, if we want, we can hammer... I guess I can probably think of another ending that I hated.
Well, I thought you had another one.
Oh, you know what? Actually, back on the original topic, all over the place. The movies were better than books. I thought of one. So this might not be the best example. Gatsby, or The Great Gatsby.
Not seen it, but
I read the book in school. I had to read it in high school. It was required reading, and I found the book dull and boring, and the main character utterly unlikable. But they did a remake of it, like a modern remake, which had some kind of weird things to it. But I found it still told the same story, but it added color and life and sound to it, and I actually got into it a lot more when I watched the movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of the thing about the Gatsby was that like the whole genre style of it looked really impressive because it's Art Nouveau, right?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Or
It's
no,
the other
it's
one, isn't it?
it's not. It's not.
It's the other Nouveau.
There's a name for that. It's that 1920s style of artwork.
Yeah, the iron one as opposed to the like chill one. I can't remember. It's been too many years since I did my graphic stuff.
Art Deco.
Art Deco, that's the one.
It's called Art Deco.
Yeah. But when you bring that up, actually reminded me. I'm sure because I haven't actually seen this movie. I'm sure.
Oh, you haven't?
No, but no. The one I'm about to say.
Oh, okay.
The singing one that Duncan fucking loved.
Les Miserables.
That's the one. I'm assuming the story, the movie is a lot better.
Before people get like really up in arms, I know it's pronounced Les Miserables, but
Les Miserables.
But yeah, no, I actually really love the movie. Oh my god, I didn't know. Well, I know that it was a book. I knew it was a play. But I absolutely love that movie. I have it on.
You need to do that one at some point. Then
I agree. Yeah, definitely. Like that is one of the few movies. Like, it's hard to actually get me to have an emotional reaction. But the first time I saw that movie, the ending, legitimately, I had tears in my eyes.
Oh my god!
It had that kind of an emotional impact on me. It's so well done.
Mm.
And
I assume you've seen it considering it's a musical, but I've certainly not.
Some of the somebody told me about that. A couple friends from my hometown, very much musical and theater people.
Mm.
They were telling me that they did something different when recording that movie. So normally, the way that they'll do the singing in it, that came through on the mic. Normally the way that they'll do the singing on it, that looks pretty good. Tropical? Okay. Anyway, so normally the way they do singing in musicals, they'll sort of like pre-record it, and then they'll listen to themselves singing it and kind of sing along to their pre-recorded way, and so they'll be able to do some trickery in that regard to like make the sound seem right. I don't really understand the dynamic, but apparently in this one, all the singing was like done live. Like they're actually singing in those scenes. They didn't pre-record it or listen to themselves pre-recording it. And I think it really comes along in a lot of the scenes because you definitely see them really getting into it when they sing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so when I think doing things at the time is always great. So when you see lots of jump cuts in a film, I don't know if it's just a recent thing, but I do notice it a lot more.
Yeah.
That's why I knew when the blind superhero, when that TV series came out.
The Boys?
No, blind superhero.
Daredevil?
Yeah. And they were like, yeah, we did every single scene, every single fighting scene, there's no cuts.
Mm.
They do it start to finish, and it looks really fucking impressive.
Mm.
At least the first few episodes did. I don't know how far I actually watched into it, but it was really really cool. They didn't pan the camera away whenever someone got hit. Like, they properly did it with professionals.
That, there's something to be said about, like, I mean, you don't have to do that. Like, I think you can make, like, a cut fight scene look good, but sometimes it's really obvious when it, like, when,
like, everything's either moving too fast to see what's happening,
yeah, or
they just don't, they're, like, pointing at the guy's face when he gets hit instead of the whole scene.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of there's a few movies that have had, like, really bad, cheesy fight scenes.
Yeah, I watched one kind of recently. I can't remember what it was, though.
Sometimes it can be funny. Oh my god. This has very little to do with this. But back in college, I found this. It was like, I guess it was like a Chinese anime movie. As weird as that sounds, like it was So I'm using anime. It's not anime because it wasn't from Japan, but it was kind of that style. It was animated, and it was it was the movie's called Storm Rider Clash of Evils. And think like Mortal Kombat-esque, like god fighters, like, you know, fighting all throughout rural China to achieve some goal. I barely remember what the movie was about, but the animation and the fight scenes were so like badass. It was I have the movie somewhere on one of my hard drives, but it was actually really cool to watch. I do not remember the plot. It's been like 10 years since I've seen it, but it was good. Plus the title is so badass. Storm Rider Clash of Evils.
I don't know, it does sound very phone game title-y. All they need to add is clans to the end of it, and it's just right up there.
You get like 2 scenes into the movie and it pauses to play an ad.
Oh, maybe it's because you said Clash of Evil.
Clash, yeah.
Clash is a very key word that just...
Well, isn't Clash of Clans a mobile game?
Yeah, and it's spread to lots of other things.
Oh my god.
I mean, even fucking League uses Clash, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, Clash is their weekly tournament mode. Or maybe it's monthly. I don't know. I barely play that game anymore.
I mean, you go on and off of it, don't you?
Yeah.
You forget how angry it makes you, and then you play it again, and then you remember.
Feel like you get a little nostalgic for it. I mean, that's what happened. I played it, I was most prolifically playing it back in like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
And then I didn't touch it for like a year and a half. And it wasn't until like 2016, 2017 that I started playing it again. Yeah.
Yeah, I did think... I certainly don't need that in my life.
It is a very... the game I want to get back into is StarCraft 2. Because I can feel myself getting like...
That's kind of your magnum opus, really.
It's the game, the one competitive game that I think, besides Halo, that I got like really, really good at. Like Halo 2 and StarCraft 2 were the 2 games that I just said 3 times in a row, and that was like annoying me. Alliteration. But yeah, those were the 2 games that I ever got like really good at and like really high ranked at. Anyway, we're waffling. We're at the end of the segment. I think we've adequately beaten these topics to death.
Yeah.
Whatever those topics originally were.
We got lots for the next segment though, so don't
Yes,
worry about that.
my god. I saw the season finale for Invincible and I fucking loved it. Oh my god. So good.
What did we watch?
This week?
Yeah.
It was... we watched that show that you and I immediately got into an argument about after the...
Oh
it was
my God,
Stardust.
Yeah, all right.
The movie was Stardust. Yeah, so
I've started drinking now then.
Lots to talk about in the next segment. All right. This is going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you'll hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ Podcast. We were on segment 2, our media segment, and Blue just squeaked a squeaker in my ear. God damn it. It's going to be so loud on the... Before we get into this, can we talk about how you thought you were muted last week and started banging your keyboard, so I had to fix it in editing?
That's right, I finally got Coates to do his job and edit a video, yes!
I couldn't figure out why I couldn't sync up the audio, because normally I do it, based on the audio spikes, and I was like, blues don't match any... Oh, right. He forgot to mute himself on everything except Discord. And so...
I did mute myself somewhere.
There's just this strip of maxed out mic noises.
Bam, bam, bam.
Oh my god. Okay. So, I just want to jump into this. I talked about Invincible last week, this series on Amazon that I was really loving, and the season finale came out, Thursday.
Yeah, you were saying last week you were super hyped for it.
I was. But I was so terrified. There's so many shows, going back to the endings that let you down.
Segment, yeah.
There's so many shows that out there that, like, they have such a good premise, and then they fuck it up. Like
Fall at the final hurdle, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons that like The Expanse I found so good, because it was genuinely good from beginning to end. They didn't like season 4 was a little meh, but whatever. But they did. I was so afraid they had established a complex person who you knew had done something horrible. They weren't out and out the villain, but they could have been, or they could have had a good reason for it, or something like that. And you had you knew that there was going to be some kind of a giant emotional moment where the other character, this guy's son, the Superman equivalent I was talking about, Omni-Man, he had done something horrible, and you knew it right from the beginning of the series. But his son and all the other characters didn't. Several of them suspected that he did, but it didn't ever actually, come to fruition until the last. And right at the end of episode 7, the son kind of finds out that he's done something horrible, or sees him do something horrible right in front of him, and the episode just ends with him going, "Son, we need to talk." And that is where this episode picks up. So he reveals that he had kind of established that he came from a planet, just basically the Superman backstory, except the planet didn't blow up. He came from a planet, and they go out. They're essentially a planet of, they have a utopia, and so they've become like space humanitarians. They go out to different planets with one of their guys and help, keep the planet safe, solve their problems, etc., etc. He reveals that's not true. His planet actually went through... They did develop a utopia, but they did it through a brutal process of, essentially eugenics. Hunger Games style fight to the death until only the greatest and strongest people were left alive. And they had this utopian society after that. And then they decided that it was their duty to spread this utopia that they have developed to the rest of the galaxy. And so they go and they go to planets and they offer them a choice. Join the Empire, or we just blow the planet away.
Yeah.
And the people who join the Empire, their quality of life genuinely goes up. They cure diseases, they solve all kinds of medical issues, they eliminate, poverty and hunger, all this positive stuff, but it's at the point of a gun. If you get all this positive stuff, but you get this positive stuff by joining us. And if you don't join us, you die. So that kind of right off the bat. And so the son is kind of hurt by that. But then he goes further and goes well, we kept expanding and our population wasn't big enough to hold on to the whole empire. And so they started to continue their expansion. They decided they were going to send forward agents out to planets to essentially prime them for joining, so that it wasn't as stressful to have to coerce them into joining. Yeah. The son doesn't like this at all, and just the dad also reveals that they're going to live for thousands of years, both him and his son, and he's and he kind of, because of that, the human lives just seem so short and so fragile to him.
Yeah, it's different species.
Yeah, and so that seems kind of fucked up, and so they start fighting because the son is that is the last straw. The fact that his mother's life was just a blip in his father's lifespan, and that,
right. Did they actually bring up the mother?
They did, yeah. And the father says he says, well, she was almost like a pet or something like that, and that's the thing that drives the son over the edge. And they start brawling. The dad's clearly a million times stronger than the kid, and so it's just the kid, punching him and basically doing no damage, and the dad rocketing him through buildings and stuff like that. And to drive home his point, the dad starts punching him into civilian targets. So
Ooh.
There's a scene where he a subway train is coming and the dad holds the kid up face first, and because they're both invincible, they just tear through the train, and all the people on the train get slaughtered by banging into the kid's body.
Yeah.
And he's perfectly fine, but he's traumatized now because of all this.
Physically, yeah, but not mentally.
And so you get to, and you start to think, oh god, they're this guy is just a horrible, heartless villain. How could he do all this? But then, after this has been going on for most of the episode, it gets to the end, and he's pummeling the shit out of his son. And he has a flashback to when, his son was just a little, elementary schooler, 8, 9 years old, and he's playing, baseball or something like that. And the dad's like, this is pointless. Why are we wasting time here? I could be doing so many better things. And the mother's like explaining to him, like, no, like, here's our son. We made him. His joy is our joy. And you can see that the dad genuinely has like a change in that memory. Like that's when he starts to see that kid is actually it's more than a mission to him. And then it goes back. It
sounds like the dad was always a bit of a douche. I don't really know why she kind of went out with him.
Well, muscular douche. But anyway, but I think this is where it comes to it, because he did genuinely save a ton of people, and the son makes this point throughout their fight. It's like, this can't be all you are. You've genuinely helped people. I've seen you save people. You don't think of them as just things.
Yeah.
And it was that last moment where like the dad hesitates to throw the final punch that'll kill his son because he has that flashback to them playing baseball, and or to watching him play baseball, and actually genuinely feeling joy at that. And it's
very American.
Well, but hold up, it could have been replaced with anything. Watch your kid grow up and do something.
Yeah, no,
great.
I know.
Yeah. But it was you're right. It was very American. It was a baseball. And he shouts at him. He's like, what are you doing? What are you fighting for? Like, why are you doing this? Like, in 500 years, what'll you have left? Everyone you know and love will be dead. And then the son, just like through like a broken jaw, and he's lost some teeth at this point, he just manages to spit out like, I'll still have you. And you can see in that moment the dad just like collapses to the ground, and it dawns on him like how fucked up what he's doing is. And he just takes off, like flies right out of the atmosphere of the planet, like away. And they don't reveal where he's going, but as he's going away, you see he's like crying, the father. And then they kind of do some wrap up work where the son recovers, and he makes up with one of the characters. I said I hated the girl that he was dating in the last one of these. She actually, I think they were setting her up for a redemption thing. Because, after watching this very public brawl between him and his dad, she comes back, and the two of them make up, because she realizes that like his situation was a lot more complicated than she was giving him credit for. Right. Because she kind of like she realized she was being a bit selfish, and he realized that he should have told her everything from the beginning, and they both come to this we were both in the wrong moment, and make up. And so that wraps everything up, and they tease a ton of the stuff that's going to be happening in season 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
so it's not over yet.
Oh god, no. Oh no. So I think what's going to happen, the big plot point in season 2, I think, is going to be what the dad is doing out there, because my suspicion is he's going to try and convince his Empire people to not take Earth, and then something's going to happen, and either he's going to be the dad. He's part of that empire, the galactic empire that's all taken over planets and stuff.
Did I miss that?
Yeah, you might have. So that's his backstory.
Okay.
Is that they are spreading their utopia across the galaxy by force.
Right.
The whole join or die thing.
Okay, so I thought he'd started out as a human.
No. He's an alien.
Okay, well then, yeah, okay, I can kind of almost sympathize with him a bit more then, because I mean it's not really. Yeah, he's but that's the thing. You do you have to put yourself in those shoes. If you were like, this is how you grew up. You were taught that this is the way things are done, and this is best for everyone. And you're trained as a military person. You're sent out on a mission, and you can see that he's still so dedicated to the mission, but his son like manages to crack that armor and make him think like, oh god, is what I'm doing really best? Is what I'm doing really right? And then that's when he takes off. So I think that's going to be a big plot point, is how he resolves that. But I loved the finale because, so that's basically the whole episode. But I loved the finale because they really, really managed to keep that moral ambiguity. Like, this guy did some heinous, horrible things in that final episode. And his son, was deeply traumatized in that. But the fact that the son doesn't just outright hate him, and he just becomes like a,
mustache twirling villain. Like, you can see that there's still that layer of moral complexity there. Even if he comes back, it's going to be a long redemption arc, because, you know, he's murdered a ton of people. People saw him do it on the news and everything. Like, the government is basically developing weapons to try and kill him when he does come back and stuff.
Hello?
Sorry, it looks like...
Okay, we're back.
Oh, okay.
Discord fucked up.
Oh, yeah. But the government's, developing weapons to try and stop him and stuff, and so
Yeah.
I want to watch season 2. I can't wait for it. But I just love the fact that they didn't take the lazy way out and give him just a generic, oh, by the way, I'm secretly Satan, and then he kills everyone, and they find some silly weapon to kill him or something like that. That would have been lazy, but they actually managed to keep that layer of moral ambiguity there.
Yeah.
I don't know, I love that ending. I could think of, like, minor nitpicks to, like, tweak about it, but no, I was just satisfied. It makes me want to... It's based on a comic book, so I kind of want to read the comic now. But yeah.
I think almost all superhero...
Yeah, it's rare that they start off as a TV show.
Yeah.
But, thoughts?
It sounds a lot like a competitor for The Boys. Do you think it's better than The Boys?
Yes.
Oh my.
I think... How do I put it this way? I think The Boys has better side plots, but this show had a better main plot.
Right.
Because The Boys kind of got lazy with their main plot, especially in Season 2. And, like, it was a bit predictable. This one, I genuinely enjoyed the main plot. I thought it was pretty original and pretty interesting. Maybe it's based on something else, I don't know. But I think this one had kind of goofy one-off side plots that were just okay. But The Boys, I think the side plots they had going on were actually pretty cool. And they had me interested.
I see. Huh. Cool. How many episodes are out so far on that?
8. So season 1 is 8 episodes. Yeah. And each episode, I think the first 3 episodes are about an hour. Most of the middle episodes are around like 40, 45 minutes. And then the last episode, I think, is an hour or 2.
I do prefer the short and sweet seasons. Like, I think 12 is probably the max that I like. If it goes beyond 12 episodes in a season, I start... Like, I'm wanting to get to the end of a season quite often because also... But I mean, normally that's when they do big reveals and exciting stuff happens. So if it's like a 16 or 20 episode series, I do often find myself getting bored with it before I get there.
Yeah. And each of those, like, 8 episodes, the first 2 or so were very much setting up the story.
Yeah.
And then the last one, obviously, is back to main plot. But even the episodes that felt like they are kind of filler in the middle served a seriously important point in developing characters and introducing, like, doing world building and stuff. It just seems to be just really well written. I don't know who writes this comic, because apparently the guy who wrote the comic actually wrote the first and last episode of the show, which I think is probably why they're the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to get the original content creators on these things.
Yeah.
Because they understand their audience, I feel like, better than anyone else could.
Yeah. But, yeah, highly recommend. Great show. All right. Now that's enough positivity. Time to get into a fight.
Yeah.
We had movie night this week on Monday. You said that, and I was like, did we have a movie this week? It's been a long week. So, we watched the movie Stardust.
It was Alicia's choice this week.
Yeah. I very much liked the movie. Blue had some serious...
I liked it.
You had some serious nitpicks about it. I just,
About the last... sixth of the film. I mean, okay, can we agree that the first part was a bit slow?
Yes.
First of all.
I'll agree with that.
Good.
But
they kind of switched between multiple times and people and all that kind of stuff.
do you want me
get
to?
a bit draggy.
Do you want me to give you I'll do a quick synopsis of it because the story isn't too deep. It's
also,
very.
You wanted to use you wanted to talk about the history part of it as well.
And I will do that during the synopsis. So cool. The storyline is fairly predictable, but in a good way. Like it's a classic hero's journey kind of narrative where you have small town boy with maybe somewhat of an odd origin. He goes off on a journey because he wants something. In this case, it's to get something to win the heart of the woman that he's fallen for, who's honestly a bit of a petty materialistic bitch. And he goes off into this other world. So small town England, he crosses over and he finds himself in this fantasy realm, essentially, where there's witches and there's magic and there's sky pirates and all this other fun stuff. Stars fall into the earth, and it turns out the star is actually a person. Well, not a person, but like a human type thing. Think like an elf from Tolkien. They live forever and they're elegant and pretty and blah blah blah. So the star is actually a woman, and he says he's going to take her back with him to show his love, and essentially it's he's going out to prove how he'll go to the ends of the earth to win the heart of this woman who doesn't really like him and is willing to settle for some guy with a cheap haircut and who goes over to the next town to get her a ring. Anyway, they go through this long thing, and it turns out there's also other side plots. There are witches that want to get the star because if they cut out her heart, they can use it to, grant themselves youth for a few hundred more years. There are the star actually has an amulet on it, which she gets hit with the amulet, which is how she falls to Earth. That amulet is essentially a prize being sought after by these candidates to become the king of this empire. They're the king. So this is the part that I was going to do a historical reference. The way the king's succession works is he has a ton of sons, and they all essentially the last male heir standing becomes the next king. So they're all trying to kill each other in some way and fight and do what have you. There's still 4 of them left, I think, at the beginning of the movie. And so one of them dies right off the bat to establish this, and then the rest of them are trying to find this thing and at the same time kill each other and throw each other off the track. This is actually based on the system of succession that the Ottoman Sultanate used. So the way the Ottoman Sultanate worked was the Sultan would have a harem. He would have several different wives, and he would sleep with each of them until he got one son from each of them. And through court intrigue and the help of their mothers and whatnot, essentially the last son standing would become the next sultan. So they would all try to kill each other in some way. And it actually was a very, very stable... It's fucked up, but it was a stable form of government. And the Ottoman Sultanate only fell after one of the sultans broke with that tradition and actually married one woman, and they went with a more European monarchy style of succession. So yeah, just a little bit of historical trivia. Anyway, wrapping up the rest of the movie, they meet up with some sky pirates when they're trying to escape from a witch. They give him some basic training. He goes off and realizes that he's actually fallen in love with the star, and she's fallen in love with him, and they have this very sweet romantic moment, but through a series of events, she gets pulled away and kidnapped by the witch, and him and one of the last remaining person from the last guy before he becomes king, they all go and they need to defeat the witch because she has both the amulet they want and the star that he's fallen in love with. Stuff happens. The prince dies, but the kid manages to kill the witch and save his love. And it turns out that his mother was actually the sister of all the brothers who were competing for the kingship. and he's now the last male heir. So he not only finds the love of his life, but he becomes the heir apparent and is crowned king of this empire. And they get married. He gets coronated, and there's a big giant procession where they do all that, and then the movie ends. And Blue does not like the coronation. He thinks it's petty.
Okay, so from the point where you got to they went after the witches at the end, it all fell to poop.
For you.
So for the director, clearly he was going through a rough time, and he beansed it.
No.
So for the most part of the film, I think it was a 2-hour film, right?
A little shorter than that, but basically, yeah.
Right.
I think it was
so
like
for about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half in the middle bit, it was really good. They were going on adventures. It was a little bit romantic, but honestly, I mean, for a start, the main character's mother looks the same age as the person he's trying to date.
That was weird. Yeah, she didn't age throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. And yes, they got to the witch's lair. The main character, despite being this good, heroic character who was established for the last hour and 3/4, he just lets the prince die, despite not knowing the prince to be at all evil, or he just, as far as he's concerned, the prince is a nice guy, and he let him die.
And this is a point I agree with you on. It is a weird thing that he hides behind a bin while the prince gets slaughtered.
Yeah. Then when he gets to the altar where the Star Lady is being sacrificed, the witch basically whips out just a freaking knife, and
she's got it's a crazy big cleaver. Like, that thing is intense.
Yeah, it's like a hook axe. I can't remember what they're called.
Think like a butcher's cleaver with a spike on the end of it.
Yeah, and she freaking trounces him at swordplay. Like, she knocks him out the park. And then she's about to kill him, and she's like, no, go, true love, etc., etc. And she lets the star go free. But, it was all a trick to not do anything.
No. There is a reason, and there is an in-lore reason why she does this. It's established that they get more, like, the star's heart is only valuable once if she's not if she's not heartbroken. And she was like watching that guy die, that would have essentially made her heart worthless. So she releases her so that the star gets hope, and then now she's like, oh, I'm with the love of my life, we're gonna get out of here. And so her heart kind of rises up, and then she starts to shine again, and that makes her heart valuable so that she can actually use it to get youth again. That's why they do it.
Is crushed utterly in an over dramatic, expansive way, where they closed all the shutters, smashed all the windows. Like, they're not getting out. They're literally sealed in a coffin with a crazy witch that wants to kill them still.
Yeah.
So it's made no difference, except now the witch is in a worse position to kill them.
Okay.
The Star Lady's free.
No.
It's stupid. It's stupid.
No, I will agree with you that the ending to the plan didn't make much sense. But the beginning, the premise of it, did make sense. The premise of she needed the star to shine, that made sense.
If she had fully let them go, and they'd started a nice little family together, oh, how sweet, they've got a little child now, and then she brutally murders her in her sleep,
okay,
that would have been a good ending. That would have made sense.
The witch was about to, die of old age. She couldn't wait that long.
Then why take what you've got?
Okay.
That was stupid. It was stupid.
No, it was not stupid. It made sense in premise. The execution was just shit. So, what would have been smart is if she let them go like that, right? And then, very stealthily, shot up behind him and, cut the star's head off, right? That would have made sense because she's all hopeful in that moment. But you're right. Going, turning around and cackling, going this is my evil plan! That was stupid. I agree.
Smashing all the mirrors. What was the point in that?
I don't know.
She's fucking up her own house.
But she could, she got 400 years to build a new one. But in premise, it made sense. She needed the star to glow. But in execution, it was stupid. I agree. But this is where we fundamentally disagree about this movie. These things were like game breakers for you. You were just like suddenly just like, oh, this is stupid. I can't.
What the stupid thing one after another. There was no end to the stupid.
I was so invested in the movie at that point that I didn't even really think about these things. It was like, okay, that's a little weird. The only thing that, when I was watching it, that bothered me, the only thing that bothered me of your list of grievances during the movie was when he hid behind the bin and didn't help the prince. I was like, that's kind of fucked up. But all the other things that you had problems with didn't bother me at all during the movie. I only noticed them once you pointed them out.
And the mother being the same age.
Well, yeah, I just thought that was weird. In my head, I was just kind of like, maybe she's immortal or something. Or maybe time works differently on this side of the wall or something like that.
She's a royal, so she ages the same as the princes.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, your queen is like, 8 million years old and she's still moving around.
Yeah, but she's a thing of myth and legend, alright?
Well, maybe this lady
is too. She could take any of those characters.
The other thing I was thinking about is maybe she didn't age when she was turned into a blue jay. Because you remember the witch that... So, it's established that the kid's mother, the main character's mother, the whole reason he exists is because his father, when he was a boy, went over the wall, right? And went into this fantasy world. Yeah, and well,
but
it's lore, backstory. It doesn't really matter too much.
By that logic, though...
But hold on, let me give my theory as to why the mother's young. So, the kid's father bangs the mother, right? And 9 months later, a little baby comes over the wall, and that's the kid, and the father has to raise him alone. But the witch that had enslaved his mother usually kept her as a blue jay until she needed her to do stuff, like she transformed her into a bird. My theory is she didn't age when she was a bird.
My main problem with that is that is such a strong loophole that the witches could have turned each other into wolves and just not had to get the star in the first place.
Oh, just like
they
rotated and out.
Turned them into animals and lived forever without having to go and do something stupid.
Okay.
Like, come on, that would be a
that's legit.
mechanic.
Well, this is why the witches should have just like hired an outside consultant instead of just murdering stars.
Also, every time the witches did magic, they got visibly older.
Yes.
And so, every time that the crazy separate witch turned her assistant into a blue jay or back again, she must have been like a fucking 5-year-old. Because she was doing that shit every day.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like some spells aged them more than others. Like, it was proportional. So, like, when they did, like, basic stuff, like, made things float or whatever, that didn't cost anything. They didn't get older.
Transmogging human life is surely more powerful than opening up the fucking mirror image long-range Skype call.
Yeah.
Which literally made her hair fall out.
Okay, I'll admit that's a plot hole. But
I didn't even think of this at the time, but... Brilliant, thanks for breaking it down further for me, Kaiser.
It's okay. So it's when you're dissecting it like this is my problem with like certain kind of movie or literary analysis. When you really start to critically analyze stuff, yeah, you start to see gaps and holes and things. But if you just... That's why this movie appealed to me on... I always put it out as like, it's like a classic fairy tale or like a classic fantasy story.
It's a really good children's tale.
Yeah, you watch through it and... It's one of those timeless... I wouldn't say it's good for... Like, it's one of those all ages kind of things. Because I think I enjoyed this as an adult. I would have enjoyed this as a kid. It's like a Disney tale.
If they'd set it at Christmas, it would be a perfect Christmas film.
Yeah. A good thing to sit around and watch with the whole family, right?
Yeah.
But when you're right. You're right. If you start picking stuff apart, there's holes. I mean,
that's what I do with every movie, guys.
Also, can we talk about some of the funnier moments in this, like the goat that got transformed into a human?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Really,
that guy was fucking hilarious. So the witch, to try and trap the star at one point, creates an inn, and she had transformed this dude into a goat. And then she transformed him back into a dude and then into a woman, and transformed the goat into a man, and had them playing as like the innkeeper, and she was the wife and the dude was the daughter and stuff. But the thing is, he still had the mind of a goat. So every time somebody talked to him, he was like, "Hey, innkeeper, something, something," and he goes like, "Meh." It's just,
Yeah.
And there's one point, like, and he was like chewing on a towel. I don't know. I found that hilarious. I mean, it's fucked up, but I found it hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely appreciate different kinds of humor, I think. I mean, to be fair, no, actually, I think you appreciate like 90% of humor. I think I just appreciate about 20% of humor.
I have a certain like I enjoy like the two kinds of humor I would probably enjoy the most are like kind of lowbrow like kind of humor, and then also like sarcasm. I love dry sarcastic kind of humor. All right, other part that's funny. Robert De Niro's in this. He plays a gay sky captain. But no,
not gay.
Cross-dressing.
Yes, transvestite.
Yeah. Well, it's not even like that. He just it's just that it's heavily implied that he's gay.
It is. He's definitely camp.
Yeah. And he keeps a secret wardrobe in his captain's quarters full of like, dresses and frilly things that he does like his own little private drag show in, which again, he's an awesome character in the show. Nothing wrong with that. But the scene I'm thinking of is at the very end when they're having the coronation, and the girl who he had been kind of fallen for before, but realized she was just materialistic and not really, it wasn't he had found unrequited love in the star, and so by comparison he realized that the childish, boyish love that he had for this girl was just shallow and like paper thin, and so she ends up marrying the dude who she had the hots for before, and at the end Robert De Niro, the gay sky captain, just like he winks at the guy, or the guy winks at him, who's like married. So it's like implied that. I don't think
right. So I think that, well, at least what I took from that at the time, and I have no actual evidence to back it, but what I thought at the time was that was actually his son. But I don't know if they ever mentioned he had. He was talking about having a son because they needed it for the ruse.
Yeah.
But I can imagine him being his son, especially because he knows sword skills, not as great as.
Maybe I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I mean, there's no evidence to contradict it in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it could be one or the other. It's nothing we can prove either way.
I took it as they were implying that the guy that girl married was gay.
Possibly, well, bi, yeah.
Yeah, gay or bi or whatever. Basically, either way that he, had the hots for Robert De Niro, even though he just married this chick.
Yeah.
But anyway, there were so many good moments in that movie for me. Like, I just absolutely loved it. And I really did like the star girl. I thought that she managed to... and the actress did very well in this, because she managed to capture this... just portray this person who was simultaneously, old and wise, but like remarkably ignorant about the ways of the world, essentially. Like, she had no practical skills, only what she'd seen from afar, being up in the sky and whatnot.
Should we move on to the final point of contention that's really going to get us?
Yes, go on.
So the final scene of the movie,
which Blue hated and I loved,
was not as bad as the witch scene. Okay? Well, everything that I have to say about the final scene is purely based off of my own tastes, alright?
Yes, and it's very petty.
Wow. You're sounding very petty yourself right now, guys.
I'm just, I'm priming the audience to agree with me. Go on.
So the final scene, after they've been travelling all this way, basically living off what they could get their hands on, they've been it's been a real tough struggle. And it gets to the end and they're like, bam, he's the last heir to the throne. He gets coronated.
Yeah.
And they do it in this massive, really fancy-ass chapel. Him and his girlfriend, the Star Lady, are wearing like fancy silks and
I
furs.
I think she's his wife at that point. I think it's implied that they're, you know.
They never showed a marriage.
I didn't see a marriage license on screen.
There was literally nothing about that, so it was his girlfriend.
Okay, fine.
Leads to questions why she was also wearing a crown.
Well, that's why I think they're married, is she's wearing a crown. Like, she's the queen.
So
but go on,
kinda
finish your
skipped over
point. I
that.
keep interrupting.
I didn't even think about that. Anyway. And yeah, it's this very elaborate, very fancy, very upper-class wedding. Everybody's there, even people who have absolutely no right to be there. People who don't even know that this land exists are there.
Well, they know
and
now.
yeah, it's just very pomp and ceremony, and it's completely out of character for the characters who are being coronated, in my opinion.
All right.
And Kaiser has reasons, and I can understand his reasons why. I just think it was in poor taste. I think it could have been a lot more of a beautiful thing.
So
I think they fucked it.
I disagree on 3 points. One, I think it was beautiful. I find that sort of pomp and ceremony and elaborate, stuff. I actually find it kind of, beautiful. But that's taste. So I'll argue on 2 other points. One, it's never implied throughout the entire series that they want to be living by the scraps of their teeth or scrap, whatever the hell that phrase is. I'm mixing my metaphors. But it's that they want to be poor, that they want to like live a simpler life and that sort of rural aesthetic. That's what they've had, but it's never implied that that's what they wanted. 2, you're talking about a medieval society, and coronations were a show of power. It was a political message to say that, look, our nation is strong. We have elected a new head of state, and that pomp and ceremony was part of a political message to show. Part of that is to discourage people from maybe taking advantage of your country, your nation, your empire. It's why they spent so much money on like these big ceremonies when they were bringing on a new monarch or a new head of state or something like that. And you see that even with modern nations, like when we have like a new elected president, there's a big ceremony, people gather, there's all these crazy events and stuff. It's a political message that, we are still here, we are still strong, don't fuck with us.
Okay, but, and I agree, so the ceremony itself can be beautiful. If they had like a traditional church with like beautiful stone like tapestries and carving, no, this was like a hallway completely bare made out of gold, alright?
That I can agree with you on. They could have done better like set piecing and CGI. Because it did look, it basically looked like they had rented out the Roman Colosseum without restoring it and put a bunch of chairs in the middle of it.
No, fuck, the Colosseum would have been fucking awesome. Like some broken old brick that had history to it.
It was a big round thing. They had like stuff on the top, if I remember right.
It was very garish, is my point.
You know
what? They, neither of them, for a start, they'd never even been in that city before. They didn't even know that city was a fucking thing. Because they'd never heard of it from anyone.
There's a lot of implied off-scene, like, oh, by the way, you're the king now, here's all the stuff you have to do.
Yeah.
It does kind of...
They didn't even know there was a kingdom! And then he's holding a fucking amulet saying, "You're the new king." To what?
I want that reaction in the movie. I want that to be a deleted scene at the ending. Just, you're the new king. Of what?
You're the new Elvis. Good job.
There was, no, but okay, so that's a very fair point. But there's a sort of, again, suspension of disbelief. There's an implied, like, off-screen, he learns all the stuff he's supposed to be doing now. Again, I personally would love to have a whole separate movie where he is now the head of state and he has to deal with what's going on as the king, just like a more, like, serious movie. That'd be kind of cool to see, actually. But this is more of a fairy tale, so they don't do that. They kind of gloss over the rough political stuff.
It also felt very much like a copy and paste of Narnia. I don't know if you got that feeling, but
I've
just
only
felt that vibe.
I've only read the books, The Lion,
okay.
the Witch, and well, I've actually take that back. I've only read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I read it when I was like 6 or 7, so it's been quite a long time.
And again, I'm only talking about the last year. I know I'm only talking about the bad parts. There were so many good parts.
This is what I mean when I said it was petty. Like you've let these.
You're talking about it as well. You're not talking about the
you're
good
letting
stuff.
these tiny little elements destroy the rest of the movie.
Bring it back.
All right, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
A really good cast of characters, like the very, very big name actors, tons of them. Well, I think all the princes were big name actors. You had the pirate captain, you had the witches, all sorts. Some very funny jokes that even kids would understand. Like the princes when they were ghosts, following people around, making just like sarky comments, and
that's another thing that I didn't mention. The princes, every time one of them dies, they stay ghosts and they're cursed to follow around the other princes until
a new heir has been chosen.
Exactly. So basically, you've got a peanut gallery that no one can see and hear, commenting every now and again. I thought that was funny. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So like lots of very funny jokes. The CGI, it wasn't the worst. It could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it wasn't. They clearly spent a lot of their money on the acting talent in it, and that shows. But the CGI, like you said, it was. You could tell what was CGI and what wasn't.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like it didn't ruin the experience.
Green fire all over the inn. I did not. It's always a good sign when I don't really pick up on something, even if it is bad in a movie, because my mind instantly goes, that's a problem, I'm thrown out of it. But when they were in the inn and the whole thing was set on fire with the green shit, but I was stayed in the zone for that.
Yeah.
Even though the whole knife smashing thing was a bit ridiculous, and I did bring that up, I think, at one point.
Yeah. I did, but I mean, the inn thing, I think they made the right decision in focusing in on the characters in that scene. So the fire was there, but it was more of a background element. That's probably why it wasn't as noticeable, because they were focusing on the characters, and they're afraid, and she's coming at them with a knife. And
also, when they lit the candle and he actually like properly screamed, I was like, nice, because he didn't just like.
Yeah. No, he shoved his hand in the fire, and so you could. Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah, they were good. I also like how because Robert De Niro probably can't do a British accent, so he didn't. And so when he was talking about, tell me about my beloved England in an American accent, the kid's like, you're not from England. And then he's like, oh yes, but I've heard so much about it. They work the fact that he doesn't have an English accent into the lore, which I loved that. That was just like a tiny little attention to detail I thought was good.
Oh man, just trying to think now. I think the only thing that could have improved it was if that evil prince was in fact David Tennant.
Speaking of... Sorry, got an ice cube in my mouth.
It's so unprofessional, eating nuts on the podcast.
It was an ice cube.
My Easter egg.
It was an ice cube. Anyway, I finished my drink. So there was a... God... So when you're talking about like how garish and like tasteless the coronation was at the end, speaking of David Tennant, I was thinking of a line from another movie we watched a few weeks back, the Runaway
Bride.
Decoy Bride.
Decoy Bride. Runaway Bride's a different thing.
It is a different movie, yeah, but I mix those two up as well. There's a line that David Tennant has when he's like, arguing with the Scottish chick who's his like his counterpoint in the movie. And he's like, I suppose we should have been... She's making fun of the theme of the wedding that he's going to have. And he goes, I suppose next time, we can get married in a venue of your choosing. Maybe in some small 3-star motel, draped in tinsel, drinking German wine, watching your cousins make love in the car park. And it was just like... That line is what I was thinking of when you were describing how you thought it was garish and tasteless, the coronation.
Yeah. I don't know. It could have been more like I pictured it as a woodland scene with butterflies, and maybe this is just me expressing my feminine side.
Or your hippie side.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I do agree that they could have done better work with the CGI and with the set piece for the coronation.
If they had done it, like, if the room was like the fucking Gatsby, where it was like black and gold, with
that
like,
would have
patterns,
been cool.
That would have been fucking awesome. I would have had no problem. I don't like the fur that they were wearing either. I know that sounds kind of... I'm not super against hunting. I'm not for it either. But it just seemed very out of place for their characters.
When I come to power, I'm going to get coronated in an Art Deco throne room.
Nice. We've discussed this before. When we talk about like our dream offices would be with the big padded chair and basically Art Deco and like wooden desks and stuff.
Maybe we should do that as a topic sometime. I'm gonna write that down. Maybe next week we'll discuss that. What our
interior designing?
Yeah, exactly. What our if we were like, king of the world or some shit, what would be our like completely decadent like office environment? Like, what would our big boss office be like?
I think we would have very similar tastes though for that.
Yeah, potentially.
Like we're both thinking like brandy decanter / whiskey / rum.
You know what I've always wanted? I want a drinks globe. I want one of those globes that open up and then there's like...
Someone I know has one of them.
Oh, God, I want one so bad. All right, we're just going off the rails here. I think we should probably wrap up segment 2. Segment 3, we're doing another round of reading The Eye of Argon. We're almost through the whole thing. But yeah, any final final thoughts? Or I think we've said everything we need to.
Yeah, really good film. I'd recommend it. What was it called again?
Stardust. Yeah, great. And it was on Amazon. I think, or not Amazon. It was on Netflix. And apparently it's on the British and the American Netflix. Cause
yeah, fucking rare to have anything on the British Netflix.
Especially things with British actors in it. For some reason, you guys can't watch anything that your own people make.
Wait, is David Williams? He is English, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway. We'll end it there. This is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you'll hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 3, our wild card, and this week we are back to The Eye of Argon, a god-awful story, which has become a bit of a literary game and meme. For those who have not seen us do this before or are unfamiliar with it, the Eye of Argon is a like a fantasy story that was published in a magazine back in the 70s. It was almost lost from existence, but then some writers' convention, somebody had an old copy of it, and just as like a stupid party game, they decided, let's read this horrible story that's littered with spelling mistakes, has so many, like, this guy had a thesaurus and not much else, because he uses so many adjectives in this, like in every sentence when he's describing everything. The premise of the game is you have a group of people, at least 2, and you read through the story, and you have to read it literally as it is printed on the page. And if you auto-correct in your brain, like if there's a spelling mistake and you fix it, or if you laugh, or if you screw up a line or something like that, you switch. And the other person is the arbiter. The person not reading is the person who's an arbiter of, when you've fucked up sufficiently that you have to switch. Yeah. Also, if you reach the end of a page, you switch. Or if the end of a chapter. So it has that like -4 or whatever. Just to keep it going. We've done so far 12 pages of the story so far. Synopsis: Grignar the Barbarian he was riding and then he insulted some guards or soldiers, and then they attacked him and he killed them, and then
you remember this. This is like a month since we started it.
Then he was wooing a whore, which is again weird because the whole point of them is you don't woo them, you pay them. And then he got captured and now he's in a dungeon. And I think there was some kind of a ritual thing going on.
Not the Horrors dungeon. It wasn't a good... He didn't want to be.
Yeah, it wasn't a good dungeon. He was in a bad dungeon. Because he got arrested because he killed those soldiers or something. A lot of this is me making leaps in logic because the story isn't very clear. Like, every paragraph is about 80% adjectives and, like, 20% actual relevant content. And most of that relevant content is misspelled. So, that's about where we are. Do you want to start, or should we roll a die, flip a coin?
Let's roll for it.
All right.
I want evens.
I want odds, so there we go.
Cool. Don't now roll a dice that has more odd numbers than even.
Shall I?
Shall you what, roll?
Yeah,
roll.
You looked like you were going to grab something. 4, even.
Nice, alright.
So the food is where we left off last time. Yeah.
The food, if you can honour the mouldering lumps of fetid mush to that extent, was borne to him by 2 guards who opened a portal at the top of his enclosure and shoved it to him in wooden bowls, retrieving the food and water bowls from his previous meal at the same time, after which they threw back the bolts on the iron latch and returned to their other duties. Since deprived of all other means of nourishment, Grigner was impelled to eat the tainted slop in order to ward off the pangs of starvation. Though as he stuffed it into his mouth with his filthy fingers and struggled to force it down his throat, he imagined it was that which had been spurned by the hounds stationed at various segments of the palace. There was little in the barren vault that could occupy his body or mind. He had paced out the length and width of the enclosure time and time again, and tested every granite slab which consisted the walls of the prison in hopes of finding a hidden passage to freedom, all of which was to no avail, other than to keep him busy and distract his mind from wandering to thoughts of what he believed was his future. He had memorized the number of strides from one end to the other of the cell, and knew the exact number of slabs which made up the bleak dungeon. Numerous schemes were introduced and alternately discarded in turn as they succored to unravel to him no means of escape which stood the slightest chance of success. Anguish continued to mount as his means of occupation was was.
Yeah. Honestly, you got further than I thought you were. I think reading out Equestrian Bronte has helped. You know. Alright, so. Anguish continued to mount as his means of occupation were rapidly exhausted.
I didn't even see that, did I? Wait, did I?
You didn't get that far. You stopped at were or was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Suddenly, right. Without no tithe, he was routed from his contemplations as he detected a faint scratching sound at the end of the crypt opposite him.
Alright, quick time out. I had nothing in those 2 paragraphs pretty much that was like out of place. You just got like 4 things in a row.
Suddenly without no tithe. What the hell is that?
Yeah. Exhaust space T next line id.
There's a space between exhaust and Ted. And then the Ted is broken across lines. Anyway.
Yeah.
The sound seemed to be caused by something trying to scrape away at the granite blocks the floor of the enclosure consisted of. The sandy scratching of something like an animal's claws. Grigner gradually groped...
You've lost it though, mate. That's fucked.
Grignar gradually groped. That's the line that killed me.
The autobiography.
Alright, so calm down. Chill. You.
Okay. Grigner gradually groped his way to the other end of the vault, carefully feeling his way along with his hands ahead of him. When a few inches from the wall, a loud penetrating squeal and the scampering of small padded feet reverberated from the walls of the roughly hewn chamber. Grigner threw his hands up to shield his face and flung himself backwards upon his buttocks. A fuzzy form bounded to his hairy chest, burying its talons in his flesh, while gnashing towards his throat, with its grinding white teeth, sour fetid breath scorching the squirming barbarian's dilating nostrils. Grigner grappled with the lashing flexor muscles of the repugnant body of a gargantuan brown-hided rat, striving to hold its razor teeth from his juicy jugular as its beady grey organs of sight glazed into the flaring emeralds of its prey. He said emeralds! It's another point!
It says emerald. Also, congratulations on not mispronouncing gargantuan.
Gargantuan, yeah, I'm surprised I spotted that. I started laughing because flung himself backwards upon his buttocks, and then a furry form bounded to his hairy chest. I was like, oh no.
I was literally clenching my jaw, trying not to bust out laughing at that.
Yeah. The teeth were a bit weird as well.
Also, can we talk about the beady grey organs of sight? You mean eyes? What the fuck?
Even scorching was spelt wrong. Scorching and squirming. That's why I paused on squirming, because I was pronouncing specifically that it didn't have a U in it.
Skirming, yep.
God.
Alright, it's the end of the page. I'll take over.
Yeah, it's your turn. You're up.
Taking hold of the rodent around its lean... No, but okay, that was just me mispronouncing the word hold.
It's fine, but
yeah. I was expecting it to be misspelled.
Yeah, I know you were.
Taking hold of the rodent around its lean, growling stomach with shit. I'm mispronouncing correctly spelled words.
You're still on the first line. I'll let you keep going.
Okay. Taking hold of the rodent around its lean, growling stomach, with both hands, Grignar pried it from its crimson-rent breast, removing small patches of flayed flesh from his chest in the motion between the squalid black claws of the starving beast. Holding the rodent at arm's length, he cupped his right hand over its frothing face,
Nope. Contricting.
Okay, you can take over from holding, but
okay,
or take over from there.
I'll go from retaining.
Okay.
Wait, is that the right line? Yeah.
No,
it's not.
The right line is
dropped
holding.
By accident.
Yeah.
He cupped his right hand over its frothing face, contracting his fingers into a vice-like fist over the quivering head. Retaining his grips on the rat, Grignar flexed his outstretched arms while slowly twisting his right hand clockwise at his left hand counterclockwise motion. The rodent let out a tortured squall, drawing scarlet as it violently dug its foam-flecked fangs into the barbarian's sweating palm, causing his face to contort to an ugly grimace as he cursed beneath his breath.
That doesn't count. I made you laugh, but...
Yeah, no, it was the end of the paragraph anyway. I kind of give myself a little break at the end of the paragraph.
Yeah. Can we talk about how, medically, precise this is? Clockwise, counterclockwise,
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought you meant, actual...
Oh, God, no.
No.
Alright, go on.
With a loud crack, the rodent's heart...
Are you okay?
I said heart instead of head because I was reading parted.
Oh,
yeah.
At the same time. Okay. With a loud crack, the rodent's head parted from its squirming torso, sending out a sprinkling shower of crimson gore and trailing a slimy string of disjointed vertebrae, snapped trachea, esophagus, and jugular, disjointed hyphoid bone,
Nope.
Wait, what did I... Oh, hyoid bone, shit.
Yeah. Good fucking try though, because that was a lot of medical terms.
I'm used to. I was actually surprised that they're accurate. Like trachea, esophagus, jugular, disjointed hyoid bone. He's actually describing the bones and pieces of the neck and head pretty accurately. Yeah. This guy who can't spell properly apparently has a degree in medicine.
Oh my god! Disjointed vertebrae, snapped trachea, esophagus, and jugular, disjointed hyoid bone, morose purpled stretched hide, and blood-seared muscles.
Before you go on to the next paragraph, I have a modified theory. He didn't just have a thesaurus, he also had a copy of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, he was watching Scrubs.
Didn't have any... No, God damn it. No, the actual book, Grey's Anatomy, that's what the show's named after. It's an actual well-known, like, anatomy textbook.
Oh, okay. It's a bit too American for me, I think. Even, I don't know. But
anyway, go on. You're right.
Flinging the broken body to the floor, Grigner shook his blood-streaked hands and wiped them against his thigh until dry. Then wiped the blood that had showered his face and from his eyes. Wait, did I read? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Again, sitting himself upon the jagged floor, he prepared to once more revamp his glum meditations. He told himself that as long as he still breathed the gust of life through his lungs, hope was not lost. He told himself this, but found it hard to comprehend in his gloomy surroundings. Yet he was still alive, his bulging sinews at their peak of marvel, his struggling mind floating in a miral of impressed excellence of thought. Plot after plot sifted through his mind in energetic contemplations. Okay, right.
You want to explain why you did the he?
Because the letters are completely disjointed. One of them is like floating above the other, so I went higher.
Yeah, it almost looks like a superscript.
Self, it went like self.
Yeah, I knew why you did it, but just for the sake of people listening audio-wise, like there's a reason. This is something that is relevant.
And then at the end, they did a double space, so I paused slightly.
Yeah.
Then it hit him. Minutes may have passed in silent thought or days. He could not tell, but he stumbled at last upon a plan that he considered as holding a slight margin of plausibility. He might die in the attempt, but he knew he would not submit without a final bloody struggle. It was not a foolproof plan, yet it built up a store of renewed vortexed energy in his overwrought soul. Though he might perish in the execution of the escape, he would still be escaping the life of infinite torture in store for him. Either way, he would still cheat the gloating prince of the succoured revenge his sadistic mind craved so dearly. The guards would soon come to bear him off to the prince's buried mines of dread, giving him the sought-after opportunity to execute his newly formulated plan. Groping his way along the rough floor, Grigner finally found his tool in a pool of congealed gore. The carcass of the I fucked it.
Yep. You skipped a letter.
Tripped on
so you're doing a lot better at this than I have been this session.
I'm hopped up on coffee.
Yeah, I honestly I'm gonna be wired later. This is green tea, and I had like Scottish breakfast tea in this cup. So this is like got a lot of caffeine in it. This is more caffeine than I'm used to. I'm gonna be jittery as fuck for D&D later. Anyway, where you left off at congealed gore.
From the carcass, I would say.
Yeah. The carcass of the decapitated rodent, the tool that the very filth he had been sentenced to spawned. When the time came for action, he would have to be prepared, so he set himself to rending the sticky hunk in grim silence, searching
Hulk.
by the... Did I say hunk? I said hunk,
Yeah.
didn't I? I'll just finish the line. You can...
Go for it.
Because there's not much left. In grim silence, searching by the torchlight of his fingertips for the lever.
Touch.
Fuck! By the touch of his fingertips for the lever of freedom. Or to freedom. Jesus Christ, I suck at this! And you know what it is? You have one paragraph now, and then it's gonna be right back to me on the next page. Alright, just go.
It's not even a paragraph, it's like a sentence.
Alright, go. You got... So, by the way, we're on chapter 5. You know, that was
the altar and be done with it, wench, ordered a fidgeting shaman as he gave the female a grim stare accompanied by the wrinkling of his lips to a mirthful grin of delight.
Okay. Oh, we're back to the chick again. Is this the whore, or is this a different chick? I'm not saying...
I don't even know where we are.
I'm not saying whore derisively. She literally was a prostitute.
I don't know.
All right.
Honestly.
Whatever. I'll keep going. Jesus, let's see if I can do better. The girl burst into a slow, steady whimper, stooping shakily to her knees and cringing woefully from the priest with both arms wound snake-like around the bulging jade shin rising before
Sorry,
her
that's my fault.
scantily attired figure. Wait.
Take a second. That was totally my fault.
It literally said snake-like around the bulging jade shin. I don't understand what's happening here.
I was like, is that something lewd or is that...
I don't know. And what's she holding on to? A jade what?
The jade shin rising before her scantily attired figure. Like...
Alright, whatever.
I think that's the priest's dick.
God damn it. Alright, I'm good. Her face was redly inflamed from the salty flow of tears spouting from her glassy, dilated eyeballs. Clearly, Jim Thies is a romance writer. Like, this guy could be right up there with some of the best. You know, you could play Amore in the background.
Better love story than Twilight.
Grignar and this nameless whore.
And the wench.
Grignar and the wench. It could be a soap opera. Alright. With short, heavy footfalls, the priest...
No.
What?
Footfalls.
Oh, you're right.
Sorry.
No, you're right. No, there's only one L. But no, I'll if you're fine with me keeping going, I'll keep going.
Keep going.
With short, heavy footfalls, the priest approached. The female, his piercing stare never wavering from her quivering young countenance. Halting before the terriff-eyed girl, he projected his arm outward and motioned her to arise with an upward movement of his hand. The girl's whimpering increased slightly, and she sunk closer to the floor rather than arising. The flickering torches outlined her trim build with a weird, ornate glow, as it cast a ghostly shadow dancing in horrid waves of splendor over smoothly worn whiteness of the marble-hewn altar.
Oof.
I have no idea what I just read. I
get a far better idea of what's being said when you're saying it than when I'm doing it, because I'm focusing entirely on just not cocking up. Right, is it you or me?
I'll keep going. I haven't totally fucked up yet. The shaman's lips curled back farther, exposing a set of blackened, decaying molars, which transformed his slovenly grin into a wide, greasy arc of sadistic mirth and alternatively interposed into the female a strong sensation of stomach-curdling nausea. Quote, "Have it as you will, female," gloated the enhanced priest? What?
Yeah, his jade bulge.
No, god damn it. Alright, gloated the enhanced priest as he bent over at the waist, projecting his ape-like arms forward and clasping the female's slender arms with his hairy round fists with an inward surge of his biceps.
No. This is way too much laughter.
I can't keep a straight face.
It's because what cracked me up was that you did old man equestrian's voice.
I did, yeah. I went with the have it your way, female.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
Shall I continue?
Yes. I fucking
With an
lost
inward
it.
surge of his biceps, he harshly jerked the trembling girl to her feet and smothered her salty wet cheeks with the mouldy touch of his decrepit dull red lips. The vile stench of the shaman's hot, fetid breath overcame the nauseated female with a deep, soul-searing sickness, causing her to wrench her head backwards and regurgitate a slimy orange-white stream of swelling gore over the richly woven purple robe of the enthused acolyte. The priest's lips trembled with malicious rage as he removed his callous paws from the girl's arms and replaced them with tightly around her undulating neck, shaking her violently to and fro. The girl gasped a tortured groan from her clamped lungs, her sea-blue eyes bulging forth from damp sockets. Cocking her right foot backwards, she leashed it desperately outwards with the strength of a demon possessed, lodging her sandaled foot squarely between the shaman's testicles. I was trying to go for a sultry voice, and then I get between the shaman's testicles.
Oh my god.
She kicked him in the crotch.
Like, also, hey look, Jim Thighs, you used the word eyes. Not eyeballs, not organs of sight. Like,
yes, the orbs of revealing.
Yeah, emerald orbs, I think was how they described his eyes in the... God damn it. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Testicles.
I fucked up and
you
gasped
didn't...
at the beginning anyway.
Yeah, okay, so I'll take over from there.
Yeah.
The startled priest released his crushing grip, crimping his body over at the waist, overlooking his recessed belly, wide open in a deep chasm. What? His face...
Right, it was in at the end.
Okay. His face flushed to a rose-red shade of crimson, eyelids fluttering wide with eyeballs protruding blindly outwards from their sockets to their outmost perimeters, while his lips quivered wildly about, allowing an agonizing wallow to gust forth as his breath billowed from burning lungs. His hands reached out, clutching his urinating... Wait, what?
Urinary gland.
His urinary gland! It's his dick! we had organs of sight, now we have his urinary gland.
Shall I go from that?
Yeah. I fucked that up, so go. I thought he was pissing himself, so I said urinating, but... Alright, it's you.
His hands reached out, clutching his urinary gland, as his knees wobbled rapidly about for a few seconds, then buckled, causing the ruptured shaman to collapse in an egg-huddled mass to the granite pavement, rolling helplessly about in his agony. The pathetic screeches of the shaman grovelling in the dejected misery upon the hand-hewn granite-laid pavement, worn smooth by countless hours of arduous sweat and toil, a welter of ichor oozing through his clenched hands attracted the perturbed attention of his comrades from their fetid ululations. The actions of this rebellious wench bespoke the credence of an unheard of sacrilege. Never before in a...
You finish the paragraph.
Lost maze of untold eons had a chosen one dared to demonstrate such blasphemy in the face of the cult's idolic deity. Fuck.
I mean... Yeah.
I fell for his classic deity.
we're at a point where we switch anyway, but still, can we just... Can we talk about the fact that...
made him come when she kicked him in the balls. That's why I love it. Like...
What's the meme?
A welter of ichor oozing through his clenched hands. What the fuck?
What's the meme? Peas stored in the balls. But no. So the thing that made me laugh is that they took a break from talking about the girl and the priest that just got kicked in the nuts. First of all, we've been talking about a priest getting kicked in the nuts for about 5 paragraphs now. Second, they took a break to specify that the tile floor was handmade and polished. And like, why are we talking about the tile floor? He just got kicked in the nuts. What the fuck is this?
Just for selling purposes.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Went out that hole.
All right, this will be the last page. We'll finish this page and then we'll call it apart because we've actually already been going for a while now. The girl cowered in unreasoning terror, helpless in the face of the emblazoned acolyte's rage. Her orchid-tussled face smoothed betwixt her bulging... Smothered betwixt her bulging bosom. All right, you can take over.
No, you keep going. I've had fuck tons.
Okay. I'll start from the beginning, though. Her orchid-tussled face smothered betwixt her bulging bosom as she shut her curled lashes tightly, hoping to open them... Oh, God, her curled lashed. You can take over after this paragraph.
Okay.
Tightly hoping to open them and find herself awakened from a morbid nightmare. Yet, the hand of destiny decreed her no such mercy. The antagonized pack of leering shaman converging tensely upon her prostrate form were entangled all too lividly in the grim web of reality.
I didn't even notice the prostate mistake. Oh no, prostrate was right.
Yeah, prostrate was right.
Yeah. So.
It would be funny if it was prostate, but I mean, she damaged his prostate. Anyway,
shuddering from the clammy touch. Is that how you spell clammy or not?
No.
I thought it was with two M's. That's
it's
why
two
it
M's.
went clammy.
Yeah, it's clammy if you spell it like that.
Shuddering from the clammy touch of the shaman as they grappled with her supple form hands, wrenching at her slender arms and legs in all directions, her bare body being molested in the midst of a labyrinth of orange smudges, purple satin, and mangled skulls shadowed in an eerie crimson glow. Her confused head reeled, then clouded in a mist of enshrouding ebony as she lapsed beneath the protective sheet of unconsciousness to a land peach and resign.
Can we put this on
really
YouTube?
Eager to see what the YouTube autocorrect for the subtitles is for this.
Oh my god, I really want to... Oh my god, that would be awesome. We should go back...
Because they're awful as it is.
At some point, we should go back and look at our old readings of this, or even our readings of Equestrian Bronte, and see what YouTube puts for our subtitles.
Also, I was thinking we're probably going to get the... I mean, if this was monetized, which it isn't, it'd be demonetized to hell because of all the, lewdness. But at the same time, it doesn't make any sense, so maybe it wouldn't be considered lewd.
I mean, is erotica if it's just a confused mess?
I mean, I'd say the dinosaur porn was erotica, even though that's a confused mess.
Yeah, we need to get back to that. We need to branch out.
Take hold of this rope, said the first soldier, and climb out from your pit, slut. Presence is requested in another far deeper hellhole.
I'm sorry. They keep calling Grignar a slut, and I don't think Jim Thighs knows what that word means.
I don't think they're talking about Grignar, are they?
I think... Look, the next paragraph.
Yeah, you're right.
It's still you.
Also,
I made you laugh.
I feel like it's an homage.
I made you laugh, so it's not you. If you want to keep going, you can keep going.
Okay. Grignar slipped his right hand to his thigh, concealing a small opaque object beneath the folds of the G-string wrapped about his waist. Brine wells swelled in Grignar's cold jade squinting eyes, which grown accustomed to the gloom of the Stygian pools of ebony. Sorry, yep, you're up.
Yeah, okay. Oh my god. Let's see. Jade squinting eyes, which grown accustomed to the gloom of the Stygian pools of ebony engulfing him, were bedazzled and blinded by flickering radiance cast forth by the second soldier's resin torch.
Oh, you're so close. You're
Resin
doing so
torch.
well.
Soldiers flickering.
Yeah, he can
What's with
decide
this
what he
stutter in
wanted
this
the end of
paragraph?
that of flicker to be. So it was flicker,
Yeah.
ing.
Jim Thighs was a little. I don't know. It was the 70s. Maybe he was coked up when he was typing this.
Maybe. Shall I continue or do you want to?
It's up to you. You're the arbiter because you're not reading.
I'll continue because I'm pretty sure I'm going to fuck up in this next paragraph and then you
Go
can
for
close
it.
out. Tightly gripped in the second soldier's right hand, opposite the intermittent torch, was a large double-edged axe, a long leather-wound, oaken-handled, transfixing the center of the weapon's iron head. Adorning the torsos of both of the sentries were thin yet sturdy hauberks, the breastplates of which were woven of tightly hemmed twines of reinforced silver braiding. Cupping the soldiers' feet, wrapping... Wait, I lost my line.
Yeah, you skipped.
Yeah. You can go.
Cupping the soldiers' feet were thick leather sandals wound about their shins to 2 inches below their knees. This is all very specific. Wrapped around their waists were...
Wrapped about their waists were wide satin girdles with slender bladed poniards dangling loosely from them, the hilts of which featured scarlet-encrusted gems resting upon the manes of their heads and reaching midway to their brows were smooth copper morions. Spiraling the lower portion of the helmet were short, curved silver spikes, while a golden hump spired from the top of each bassinet. Beneath their chins, wound around their necks and draping their clad shoulders, dangled regal purple satin cloaks, which flowed midway to the soldiers' feet. Hand over hand, feet braced against the dank walls of the enclosure's huge Grigner ascended from the mouldering depths of the forlorn abyss. His swelled limbs stiff due to the boredom of a timeless inactivity, compounded by the musty atmosphere and jagged granite protuberance against his body craved for action. The opportunity now presenting itself served the purpose of oiling his rusty joints and honing his dulled senses. Fuck me.
He's getting lubed up. That was a rough paragraph. Good on you for getting through that.
Yeah, I did. I think tripped, but I managed to...
Yeah, you recovered. You hesitated for a moment, but you recovered it.
Yeah, like the protuberant. I wanted to say protuberate.
Well, and
because that
also
makes sense so badly.
the not the atmosphere, the atmosphere.
Yeah, I caught that one just in time. Holy fuck!
Oh man! All right, I think let's end with that. So next time we'll pick up on page 38, which has a weird cat picture at the bottom of it.
It does. Is that a cat?
Or a thing? I don't know. We'll find out.
It looks like some Dr. Zeus creature.
Yeah, we'll find out in our next reading of it.
Next time on Yu-Gi-Oh!
Next time on Dragon Ball Z. So
we're halfway through.
Next time on Grignar and the Wench. That would have been a better name for the story, honestly.
Would have made more sense, at least.
Yeah, it would have been more relevant. They referenced the Eye of Argon once, I think, so far.
Yeah.
The cultists, I think, have the Eye of Argon. Anyway, that's as crazy as that was. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to us reading this. I mean, actually, if you enjoyed listening to us reading this, there's probably something wrong with you.
I mean, we enjoyed it.
I mean, I got a huge kick out of that. Okay. Any final thoughts before I close this out, Blue?
It's going to be the end of the year that we're going to finish this, I think, because I thought we were getting through it really fast, and I look at where my page is, and it's like halfway through.
Yeah, we're only halfway through the story. God knows how this ends.
Anything exciting happening for the next week?
Well, episode 41. I mean, it's your movie choice. Do you have something in mind?
It is. Yeah, I was thinking Dread.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's a movie I've wanted to see, because I only found out about. I'm not a big comic book person, but I only found out about Judge Dredd soon. But the concept seems.
I'm just hoping it's not too graphic.
I've heard that it's very gory.
Yeah, it is very gory.
I mean, I should have said this during segment 2. I mean, I did last week. Invincible is excessively gory.
Yeah, but that's cartoons, so I can kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
With some exceptions.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's our segment 3 next week? Do you know?
It's going to be a random thing. It's nothing planned.
Okay. The wild card of the wild card. All right. So look forward to that. This is going to be the end of episode 40 of the TMCJ Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and hopefully you will tune in again soon. You jackass.